policymakers from the Greater Mekong Subregion, or GMS, began discussions on Monday on the challenges and opportunities for balancing economic growth with environmental sustainability in Bangkok. The two-day conference, entitled the GMS 2020, Balancing Economic Growth and Environmental Sustainability, is organized by GMS countries, including Vietnam, Cambodia, China, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand, in collaboration with the Asian Development Bank. Strategic measures are expected to ensure economic growth is balanced with food, water, and energy security, especially in light of increasing climate variability. Since the 6 countries sharing the Mekong River formed the Economic Cooperation Program in 1992, gross domestic product growth in the sub-region has averaged about 8% a year, while real per capita incomes more than tripled between 1993 and 2010. However, as the economies grow, so do competing demands for natural resources. Conference participants, including government officials, development partners, academics, and private sector representatives, will examine how growth has impacted the environment and look at the future of water in the region. They will also look at whether economic growth has led to poverty reduction, forecast food and water needs to 2050, and discuss ways of scaling environmental and economic challenges. GMS countries have already cooperated on the Core Environment Program Biodiversity Conservation Corridors Initiative, which addresses adaptation and mitigation measures, as well as environmental implications for agriculture, energy, tourism, transport, planning, and investment decisions. The GMS leaders have also endorsed a 10-year strategy to enhance agricultural development, pro-poor sustainable tourism, low-carbon development, and management of the sub-region's richly diverse ecosystems. Since 1992, ADB has provided the GMS Economic Cooperation Program with technical assistance worth more than $57 million for specific environmental initiatives.
Kunwina, just yesterday there was an international conference on GMS, and today there will be a press conference. So let's take this great opportunity to speak with Mr. Javed Hussain Mir, ADB's Director, Environment, Natural Resources and Agriculture Division from the Asian Development Bank. Good afternoon, Kun Javed.
Good afternoon, Kun. Glad to be here and
welcome.
glad to have this opportunity.
Yes. Mr. Javed, how will the GMS measures on economic growth have an impact upon the food and energy resources in the region?
Well, I mean, as you know, the GMS in last decade has grown on the average about 7.2% annually in terms of gross domestic product.
Right.
And the outlook looks pretty positive in terms of the future growth in the next decade or so. And that's essential to keep on the momentum on economic prosperity and job creation and poverty reduction. But obviously, associated with that growth will be increased demand on food and energy resources.
Right.
We do believe that the region is well endowed in terms of land, water, and energy resources to meet that demand, but it's not automatic. The growth, both economic growth and sound resource use, is not automatic, so governments will have to make sure that the policies and the technologies and the institutions work together, both in the countries as well as regionally, to take to make the best out of this opportunity.
Now, Mr. Javed, how does the GMS actually assess the climate variability and also climate changes?
Well, we are looking at, there are, of course, the key issues about, as you know, the last year's event, that there have been severe weather events. So there is that issue of how do we improve our forecasting systems and help the countries to have better information on early warning systems and informing the potential risk areas. Right. That's more on the emergency response basis. But more long-term and systematically, what's involved is to look at how the changes in primarily this region is going to run into is some changes in the rainfall patterns and temperatures over the next decade or two, and factor those changes into what kind of agriculture cropping systems are being promoted or utilized, and how to manage the risks that may arise because of changes in rainfall patterns and in terms of temperature. What is most probably, as you know, traditionally also this is a monsoon-based area.
Right.
So we usually have, even without climate change, the variability of high rainfall seasons and drought seasons. What is going to most probably happen in the future is these cycles are becoming much shorter and the intensity is increasing. So the GMS countries are now looking at how their agriculture sector, how their energy sector, and how their environmental, water resource sectors are going to factor in this increased variability and uncertainty into their planning and management.
Right. Mr. Javed, for the Mekong sub-region, many areas are still poverty-stricken. How does ADB define growth? Is growth the answer?
Well, we do believe that economic growth is a necessary condition, but it's not a sufficient condition.
Right.
And I think globally and in the region as well, if you see what has happened in the region, in Asia in general, there has been a substantial poverty reductions, millions of people have been pulled out of poverty, and primarily that is done through increased economic growth. But we also know that two things, that economic growth by itself doesn't automatically result in poverty reduction. It has to be inclusive. And the content of growth, that means which sectors can deliver the growth and has the maximum benefit in terms of poverty reduction.
Right.
We are seeing that you have to have investments in the rural areas to diversify economies so that the growth can be broad-based and inclusive.
Now, about the recent international conference on GMS, what is your expectation from it?
Well, one of the key things we are expecting from the GMS countries and this conference is to tell us what are the policy challenges, what are the institutional challenges, what are the technological challenges, and what are the investment challenges for the GMS countries to achieve their potential as they move forward towards the next decade. As I said, that in principle, GMS countries as a region need to grow on the average about 6 to 8% annually to reduce poverty. So what do they need to do individually as a country, but also collectively to achieve that growth, but do it in a manner that doesn't compromise the environmental sustainability, the natural resource base of the region, but also doesn't increase the inequity in terms of marginalizing people. So that's what this conference is hoping us to help identify what is the best way to combine sound economic growth with sound environmental management, which also helps us to address poverty and also achieve the inclusive growth objectives.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Javed.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining our program.
You are most welcome, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.